Hope he doesn't get arrested for elder abuse. Weird to see how this guy seems to hate a lot of black and Middle Eastern folks. Yeah, there's a little pattern to that. A little pattern to his how he moves. Anyway, we're going to talk about one of the promises on which the Trump campaign was sold to its right-wing supporters was the idea that unlike Kamala Harris and unlike the neocons of old, Donald Trump was an anti-war president. Donald Trump was not going to be bossed around by the military-industrial complex, and Donald Trump certainly was not going to continue the neoconservative foreign policy exemplified by the Bushes. Well, we've got reason to question that now. We've got a bit of a reason to question that. Oh, thank you, Several Wolves. In lieu of ads, that is for Vox Populi. Gotcha. Oh wait, I've got a few to add, don't I?
Well, Donald Trump is, you know,
anti-war.
Is anti-war. Now we should also remind you, the amount of droning that he ramped up, even from Obama's numbers, dramatic. He pulled us out of no wars. Reminder. Biden dropped drones to almost non-existence. Got us out of the Afghanistan, and also Saudi Arabia. We stopped arming Saudi Arabia's assault on the Yemen.
Trump didn't just exceed Obama in one term with like the number of drone strikes. With Obama was in office for 2 terms. Trump exceeded it in 1, but he also removed that policy that Obama put in at the end of his presidency that had reporting requirements for those drone strikes and publishing the number of civilians that were killed. So we also have a less of an understanding and transparency on that front because of Donald Trump. I wouldn't call that anti-war.
And but we saw, all the libertarians and all the anti-war people saying that Donald Trump is the choice. I mean, we will get in the coming weeks to watch what Israel's going to do in terms of Gaza. I mean, everyone, we have documented, I feel like, as well as any situated where we are, on what the Biden administration had done in terms of encouraging Israel's attacks in Gaza. But with all that said, here I give you your new Secretary of State, not Secretary of Defense. This is just the one who's supposedly
Is this Marco?
Going to be diplomatic.
Diplomacy.
Is this Marco?
Yes.
Well, was it a mistake?
It's little Marco.
The question I was asked is what you know now. Well, based on what we know now, I think everyone agrees.
Was it a mistake? Was it a mistake to go to war with Iraq?
It was.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, I understand, but it's not the same question.
But I'm asking. But that's the question I'm asking you. Was it a mistake?
It was not a mistake for the president to decide to go into Iraq because at the time he was told.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you.
In hindsight,
yes.
No, the world is a better place because Saddam Hussein is not there.
So
I wouldn't characterize it. But I don't understand the question you're asking.
I'm asking you, knowing everything, as we sit here in 2015.
But that's not the way presidents don't.
What a fucking weasel.
A president cannot make a decision on what someone might know in the future.
But that's what I'm asking.
This is Trump's Secretary of State, by the way.
Was it
cannot say that the Iraq invasion was a mistake.
Mistake.
It was not a mistake for the president to go into Iraq based on the.
So any of you who voted for Trump on the idea that you were voting for an anti-war candidate, you got conned. And unfortunately, you're not the first or the last victim of Don's cons. He's been doing it his whole life. His whole fucking existence has been lying to people, conning people, ripping people off, selling people garbage products, stabbing people in the back. This is what Donald Trump does. And I don't know, how many MAGAs are actually care about whether or not Donald Trump's policy is anti-war, care about whether or not Donald Trump is embodying, you know, an America first, quote unquote, policy, or is really just doing a repeat of the neocons of the early 21st century. But I mean, the fact that he picked this guy as Secretary of State, that's a pretty good clue right there that you've been sold a bill of goods.
Information he was provided as president. Well,
all right, so that's his way of saying no.
Trump called it a
not,
big fat mistake in the debate stage.
But yeah, he was afraid of going against Trump. But, you know, like, we can, you know, that was all the way back in 2015. I'm sure he is literally, you know, he has changed his tune. In 2016, this is interesting. He uses the phrase "New American Century."
Ooh,
now, for people who have listened to this program for 20 years, you will recall that the neocons, Douglas Feith, Pearl, Wolfowitz, Cheney, et al., essentially had developed a whole worldview as to what America should do in the wake of the fall of the Soviet Union. And I think it was 1993, many of those people got together and created a document a document that was a function of a group called the Project for a New American Century. And what it called for was American hegemony to be maintained by allowing for low-grade wars all around the globe so that nothing could rise and sort of like aggregate into a force that would challenge American supremacy. Here's Marco Rubio. When he ran, he was running on, oddly enough, a new American century.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
now, it's possible he had not heard of Dick.
Yeah, my understanding is that the reason that Trump supporters like him so much is that he's not like Marco Rubio. He's not like Jeb Bush. He's not like the neocons. Why is he picking him for his cabinet, I wonder?
Or Paul Wolfowitz, or Douglas Feith, or Pearl, or any of these neocons.
Also, I should probably explain when Sam, this is Sam Cedar, when Sam says Pearl, he's not talking about Pearl Davis. He's, oh my God, what is his name? Richard Pearl, is that his name? He's talking about an old neocon from the Bush administration.
Small possibility.
I think Jeb Bush was also involved in that. He was sort of in the Florida area. Anyways, here is Marco Rubio in 2016.
So if you don't get a deal, what's the alternative? Do we have to go to war? Is it necessary to be absolutely certain they don't have a nuclear weapon or the capability to build one?
And I think that the best way to have achieved that is to leave in place both the unilateral sanctions and the international sanctions. You combine.
What is the meaning? I'm getting asked by chat. What is the meaning of the word that I'm using here? Neocons. So neocons is short for neoconservative. It's, I guess, a strain of Republican politics, you could call it. The Bush administration is maybe the best example of neocons. They're associated closely with the, what is it called? Like the People for the New American Century, which was a organization that met prior to the Bush administration and prior to 9/11 and said that they wanted to remake the Middle East in the image of the United States, and they needed something akin to a Pearl Harbor situation as a pretext to do that. So essentially, they're people that. Here, let me read you the first paragraph from Wikipedia just to give you a summary. Neoconservatism is a political movement which began in the United States during the 1960s amongst liberal hawks, who became disenchanted with the increasingly pacifist Democratic Party, along with the growing New Left. So the New Left was the anti-war, anti-Vietnam left, and the counterculture of the 1960s. So in other words, you're talking about, they're sort of tracing it back almost to like LBJ. Neoconservatives typically advocate for unilateral promotion of democracy and interventionism, a la the casus belli of the Vietnam War. Now, in reality, the United States was kind of like taking over for its allies, France, who had been colonializing Vietnam. But the theory was, the rationale was, okay, if one of these nations becomes communist, then there's going to be a domino effect, and lots of other nations are going to be communist as well, and you know, the whole world will be swept up with communism. So we got to prevent even one nation from going communist. And yeah, North Vietnam, after pushing out the French invasion, was embracing socialism. So the United States propped up a puppet government, not a popular government, but a puppet government, a government of people friendly to the United States in South Vietnam. You know, created a state out of that, and set it at you know, to fight against the North Vietnamese. But anyway, yeah, liberals are sometimes, you know, pro-war as well, as was the case with LBJ. Together with a militaristic and realistic philosophy of peace through strength, that is something that Donald Trump talks about. Look at this. Peace through strength is a phrase that suggests that military power can help preserve peace. It has been used by many leaders from the Roman Empire, Hadrian, to 2nd century, to former President Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. Again, Ronald Reagan had a large, you know, arms buildup, essentially. But this is what Donald Trump's philosophy, peace through strength, right? But yet, like, so many of his supporters will claim that he is the president of peace, right? This peace through strength is essentially saying that the United States should be the global hegemon and should practice intimidation of other nations up into, you know, acts of war to make sure its will is followed. They are espousing opposition for communism and radical populists. Okay, so major adherents of neoconservatism became politically influential during the Republican presidential administrations from the 1960s to the 2000s. So it goes from being a thing of the Democratic Party of the left, right, under LBJ. LBJ did not run for re-election because his Vietnam War policy was so unpopular. And eventually, even his chosen successor, Hubert Humphrey, you know, at the last moment disavowed, you know, and stood against the Vietnam War. So then it moves to the Republican Party. It moves to Nixon. It moves to Reagan, right? These are the neocons. And then pops up again in the presidency of George W. Bush, when they play a major role in promoting and planning the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Prominent neoconservatives in the Bush administration include Paul Wolfowitz, Elliot Abrams, Richard Pearl. There he is. That's Pearl. Richard Pearl. Paul Bremer, and Douglas Feith. Although U.S. President Dick Cheney and Secretary of State Donald Rumsfeld have not self-identified as neoconservatives, they work closely alongside neoconservative officials in designing key aspects of the Bush administration's foreign policy, especially their support for Israel, promotion of American influence in the Arab world, and launching of the War on Terror. Bush's administration's domestic and foreign policies were heavily influenced by major ideologies affiliated with neoconservatism, such as Bernard Lewis, Lulu Schwartz, Richard and Daniel Pipes, David Horowitz, and Robert Kagan. Critics of neoconservatism have used the term to describe foreign policy and warhawks who support aggressive militarism and neocolonialism. Historically speaking, the term neoconservatives refers to Americans who moved from the anti-Stalinist left to the conservatism in the 60s and 70s. The movement had its intellectual roots in the magazine Commentary, edited by Norman Podhoretz. They spoke against the New Left. So the New Left being the anti-war, you know, the Students for Democratic Society and the anti-war movement. And in that way helped define the movement. So that's what a neoconservative is. Basically somebody who likes interventionism, who wants the United States to get in foreign wars in order to project its ideology, that being capitalism, and its influence across the globe. That's neoconservatism.
With a very clear demarcation to the Iranian regime, and that is this: if you cross this threshold, you will face military action on the part of the United States. We don't want that to happen, but the risk of a nuclear Iran is so great that that option must be on the table.
So if it came to that,
It's funny. It's almost like we had a treaty that prevented Iran from reprocessing its spent fuel into weapons grade stuff, right? It's almost like we had something like that, and then Trump blew it the fuck up. Trump pulled out of the treaty.
that would be an option that you would actually
Absolutely, because
consider and use.
And let me tell you
and
why.
let's just,
If we don't do it,
if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Israel's going to do it, I guess. The bottom line is that we had a deal in place in 2016 to inhibit Iran's, to the extent that they had any.
Zombawi, I gotta read your chat here. All right. Reagan stopped World War III due to mutual assured destruction. You do know some presidents from years past. You do know some terminology surrounding the Cold War. You're a little bit off in terms of your chronology, though. But I appreciate you chiming in. All right? I don't want to disincentivize anybody unless they're really annoying. And you're not really annoying. I appreciate you.
Weaponized nuclear aspirations. Now,
Negotiated by his office that he's going to assume pretty soon.
exactly. And of course, that's not going to come back. And I think.
I know, right? All right, Pizza Hut communism. That's what I want. Perestroika perestroika pizza
This is
with Gorbachev.
an indication of the likelihood of war with Iran.
Somebody's going to take that. Somebody's going to take that seriously in chat and like yell at me. I felt the failures of perestroika.
This is not a dove.
I know.
Just picked. This guy was sort of like, I don't know. There's Batman and Robin with McCain and Graham, and this guy would have been, I don't know, not Alfred, but some junior Robin, essentially.
A junior Robin? That's a Robin of Robin?
And Trump, another warhawk thing that he did was assassinating Qasem Soleimani when he was president.
So yeah, we've got acts of war. We've got maintenance of war. We've got drone attacks on civilians. All this shit going on during the Trump administration. I don't know where people get the idea that he's the candidate of peace. And given who he's picked as Secretary of State, I'm sorry, but if you voted for Trump because you thought that he was a candidate for peace, you got conned. You got conned by the Don. He did the weave on you.
Judicially a top Iranian general, and the only reason that we didn't go to war with Iran was because, as we've seen now with Israel's provocations, Iran has decided to take it on the chin, essentially, and they haven't escalated. But
Domini is now squatting Perestroika Pizza as a domain.
With
cyber squatting.
More hawkish Secretary of State, and the second time around, after all of the conditions that have been laid bare because of Israel's genocide in Gaza and the way that region has been inflamed, do I think that the possibility this time around for Iran to respond and drag us into a war, like that's just increased in terms of its likelihood many times over, it seems to me. Rubio is a hawk on everything. He's a hawk on China, too. That's a part of it. He's a hawk.
There was no wars under Trump. Then why were 67 people killed in Afghanistan under Trump? Oh, shit. Is that more than Biden's 13? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. What now?
On Cuba, he pretends like his family came over.
I'd be able to understand what you're saying a lot better if you didn't have like the Trump golden sneakers like shoved halfway down your throat.
Fled Castro, but people have done some research into it. Then it was actually during Batista when they came over, but whatever. He's a hawk on Venezuela. We're going to see a return to neocon style
the irony of Venezuela, right, is this is a country that Donald Trump declared sanctions on, and a country that, thereafter was responsible for a lot of the immigration into the United States, which Donald Trump then demonized and used to win the presidency. His own foreign policy failures, he's somehow allowed to use as a flex? That's so fucking wild.
Okay, it's not even...
Again, immigration doesn't come from nowhere. People don't just like leave their homes for no reason, right? They leave because their country that they're in is fucked up. And in this case, the country was fucked up by Donald Trump. He created his own fucking immigration crisis. And you got conned into believing that he could also fix it.
Return, but a retrenchment of these...
Why would he fix it? He's just going to use immigration. He's just going to demagogue. He doesn't want to...
neocon style politics.
He's got a good thing going.
And all that anti-war stuff, please.
Well, wait, don't take it from us. Don't take it from us. I want to play poker with this guy.
Don't take it from us. Take it from our sponsor, Ground News. Just kidding.
Here is Dave Smith. We had him on the show, I feel like, years and years ago. I can't really remember.
In the old backdrop days.
In the old backdrop.
There was an old backdrop? What was the old backdrop?
Dave Smith, who basically sold out the Libertarian Party by... Didn't Dave
He basically
Smith,
commodified the Libertarian Party and gave it to the GOP.
I mean, did he not? He supported Trump as
Yes.
opposed to his Libertarian candidate.
But nobody knows about Chase Olivier or whatever.
Oliver. Chase Oliver. I believe it's Chase Oliver. Am I right?
That candidate was actually not bad.
The best on the border, I think.
But here is Marco Rubio. He writes, Dave Smith writes, Marco Rubio is a disaster. Might as well give Liz Cheney the State Department. Awful sign.
It's not a sign.
Well, no, you got to understand. You got to understand. Marco Rubio, the reason he's Secretary of State is that he's loyal. He took his lumps from Trump in the primary. He was a never Trumper for a hot second there, and then he kissed Donald Trump's ass, and Donald Trump loves having his ass kissed. It's one of his favorite things in the world. Liz Cheney is not Secretary of State because she is not currently kissing. She does not have her lips affixed to Donald Trump's ass. That's the difference.
It's the thing.
It is the thing.
Donald Trump likes people that say good things about him and make his ego feel good. He doesn't like people who say bad things about him and support his opponent, Kamala Harris. So yeah, of course.
Yeah, this is not
Of course.
fire.
No.
Dave Smith is the podcast bro? I don't know.
This is a
Hour.
He's some libertarian weirdo. Yeah, libertarian comedian. He's a comedian. He's a comedian and a podcaster.
Or it could be, I mean, talk about like desperately wanting to be a plausible deniability and snowed. I mean, this guy's such a mark. It's not a sign. Like, what do you think that like, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to appoint little Marco the Secretary.
I love the names, right? My one favorite thing, if I had to pick out a good thing about Donald Trump, because I know some of you in Shorts chat want to know what my favorite thing about Donald Trump is. It's the nicknames. The nicknames are fucking epic. All right? Lion Ted, Little Marco. Oh, God. You know, I bet he had one for Vance. We just don't know about it, right? Because Vance wasn't as big, we didn't hear about it, right? But Vance used to be critical. Vance compared Trump to an American Hitler at one point, right? I wonder what Donald Trump said about Vance when he heard that. Because again, this is how this man operates. You say good things about him. He's your best friend. He's eating out of the palm of your hand, which is a disgusting image that you probably didn't need in your mind. But there you go. There you go anyway. Trump eating out of your hand. Imagine that. And you can have him eating out of your hand if you just say good things about him. Like Marco Rubio has been doing. That's why he's Secretary of State. That and the fact that apparently Trump wants a neocon in his highest state position. That's wild. The anti-war guy, the anti-neocon guy, he wants a neocon. He needs a neocon to hold his hand through his own personal war on terror, whatever the fuck he's got cooked up.
It's a head fake.
Do you want to go to war with Iran? You want to
Scare people to make them think that we have a neoconservative policy. But I'm actually not going to do anything he says. I have been hitting the books and dug deep into this. And so it's a head fake.
This knife in my back is a bad sign.
Exactly. Yes. Here is Dave Smith sending out the word, sending out the bat signal to Donald Trump Jr. Just let me just see. Can I just check my watch here? Do we have a calendar up? This was, I know, 1 day ago, where Donald Trump Jr. said, Dave Smith was like, the Stop Pompeo movement is great.
They were really feeling themselves for 2 days when Pompeo and Nikki Haley, two people that personally offended Trump.
Yes, exactly. Right now, we need maximum pressure to keep all neocons and warhawks out of the Trump administration. They have had their time. Can we show more there? What else comes in? They have had their time, he said.
Mira says, I'm Saudi, and he ripped $450 billion from my country in his last administration. I hate him for that, and I won't forgive him either. He does rip a lot of people off. Yeah, I mean, this is like, if you want to describe this government that Trump's got going, kleptocracy is your best terminology. Oh my God, more people asking about neocons. Again, a neocon, just to simplify it, George W. Bush and his war on terror and his invasion of Iraq, claiming that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction when they didn't, causing massive loss of life in Iraq and of U.S. soldiers, and generally spending a lot of money in a war that accomplished nothing. That is what neoconservatism is. And these are the kind of people that Donald Trump is starting to put in his new cabinet.
I mean, here is Dave Smith. And to be fair, that was almost 3 whole days ago.
Yes.
So life comes at you fast.
Yeah, Bush is before a lot of people's time. So that's what I'm trying to help out by just saying that it's like somebody who likes, who wants to find excuses to go to wars, right? Who wants to, invade the Middle East and try to, change governments, overthrow governments, replace those governments with friendly governments. This always ends with a less friendly government taking over, right? Which is not surprising because, I mean, would you want your nation taken over? If somebody came into the United States, took it over, imposed their own government, would you not wait until their troops left and throw that government out? And maybe replace it with a government that doesn't exactly like it. It's the simplest thing in the world, but it's a lesson that the United States has failed to learn ever since Vietnam, which is way before almost any of our time. Way before. I doubt there's anybody in my chat right now that has Vietnam War memories. That was, in the 60s and 70s. But the United States has been doing this shit for a long time.
But as we're pulling that up, we should remind you, it's not just, here it is, and they've had their time at the table and brought nothing but...
I mean, yeah, that's one element of it, Bucket. Yeah, Dick Cheney would be described as, you said war profiteers, right? You could describe what Dick Cheney was doing as profiteering. He owned or was associated with a company called Halliburton, which did a lot of the contracting for the Iraq war effort.
Disaster to the world in this country. America first. Screw the war machine. And,
Stuart A., I've given Jimmy Dore more than enough listens. But welcome into the chat anyway. You're all welcome here. You're all welcome. I'm glad to have you. Communist invading radicals, it's good to see you.
Got it, Dave.
And Donald Trump Jr. agreed. Now, I'm not as hip as Donald Trump Jr. What's the 100 thing mean?
Like 100%.
I'm joking.
I'm on it, he says. He says.
Thank you for the raid, 5th Gen.
100.
And welcome, Raiders. Welcome, Streamer.
100. We're good, dude. 3 exclamation points. I'm on it. But in the meantime, I also have to go join the board of a VC that is funding a company that funds all right-wing merchandising that my dad's going to be going out and promoting, not including our own, crypto coin meme or whatever the hell it is.
Well, I just can't even.
Yes. And so there you have it. And we should say,
You wonder why y'all lost? Yeah, Ronald Miller, we're always getting invaded by communist invading radicals. It used to be nice up here, but now there are communist invading radicals.
well, this is a bad sign because Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz
Yes.
Another bad sign.
is also
Security
another
advisor.
bad sign.
Yes. Wow.
He is, Mike Waltz is,
The writing on the wall is not looking so good here,
It's
guys.
not. I mean, Trump's really working overtime to throw everybody off the trail by appointing all these warhawks to these top positions.
he is a China hawk, a Green Beret.
Sancho casting this guy.
He called for a U.S. boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing due to its involvement in the origin of COVID-19.
Yo. Yo. We can't have the Olympics in China? They did COVID to us. Oh my God, that's really what he's saying?
Apparently, according to Mike Waltz, China mistreats Muslim Uyghurs there. Now, I would also imagine that Waltz also has a problem with Muslims in other parts of the world, though.
Yeah, he has a problem that they're putting him to camps instead of just bombing them.
Exactly.
You're supposed to put them in an illegal military base in Cuba, don't you know? Otherwise, it's a human rights issue. Right? If you have them in a black site, in an illegal military base that you've been occupying against the will of the Cuban people for years and years and years, and you waterboard them, that's all okay. That's fine. You can treat, you could, but if, China, you did this, you didn't do this in Cuba. You didn't do this in an illegal military base. Yeah, it's wild that the United States is, yeah.
Well, at least you should know he was a policy advisor to Don Rumsfeld.
Oh.
Only other countries' human rights violations count, not ours.
I stand for several hours a day. How is standing torture in Guantanamo torture guy? Yeah.
There you go. So, this is...
China just copied the Americans' war on terror policy.
That's a real thing.
a real thing.
That's very bad.
Why hasn't anybody tried to put W in Gitmo? Because people love his art. Apparently, he does he paints pictures, and people think it's really cool.
Yes.
Lou Stool, Emma's helping Sam finish his sentences today like she's his nurse. I mean, I need it. It's been a tough week all around.
In terms of my neurological capacity.
Yes.
But I am going to enjoy.
Okay, I probably spoke too soon. I made the assumptions. Jeannie says, I was born during the Nixon times and just remember the Vietnam War. MAD, Mutual Assured Destruction, was first used in 1962. The French, by the 70s, we were on to like détente that was more like the late 70s, right? The French had interest in Vietnam. U.S. Went as advisors at first, and then it escalated. Under Kennedy, and then LBJ formalized the conflict.
Let's play this clip from Mike Waltz. This is Donald Trump's incoming national security advisor at APAC in 2017. Excuse me, CPAC. And in 2017, and this is a guy who was mad that Joe Biden was contemplating or would ever contemplate getting out of Afghanistan. And here he is 3 years later, basically saying, we need to have people in there more or less like we've had them in Japan or Germany.
I mean, that was the feeling. Didn't I tell you this during the debate? Like, if you listen to what Trump was saying, he was saying that not only, you know, like, so he had a chance, if he was really anti-war, to pull out of Afghanistan. Instead, he punted it to Biden. And then he bitched about Biden leaving Afghanistan. One of the things he complained about was Bagram Air Force, or Bagram Air Base, right? He said that the United States should have retained that, and it was the perfect base for going after China, right? This guy's not fucking anti-war. I don't know how to tell you this, right? They are talking about reinvading Afghanistan. That is how not anti-war the Trump administration is turning out to be. And if you voted for him because you thought he was going to keep the United States out of wars, you got conned. You got conned by Don. And now he's putting a neocon in as Secretary of State.
Years in, yes. Are we in for a lot more fighting, and do we need a long-term strategy to undermine the ideology of Islamic extremism, just like we did?
Oh my God, motherfucker thinks that you can go in and do regime change. The United States, for anybody who wasn't born then, was in Afghanistan before some of you were born. Right, they invaded Afghanistan in like 2002 or 2001 or something, right? And like that, you know, there was no change in ideology that happened. There was a puppet government propped up, stayed propped up as long as the U.S. was there. But then as soon as the U.S. withdrew, the puppet government fell because it was not popularly supported.
And just like we did communism, yes, we do. And, you know, Gordon, I think we're in for a long...
Oh, we got Gorka. We got Gorka, Chad. Do you see him right there with his big, beautiful beard? That's Gorka. That's Sebastian Gorka.
And I think
that is the one good thing about Trump being back, is that Gorka is back as well.
Nation's leadership needs to be...
And the memes will flow, Mr. Chapo. Wait, has Chapo Trap House done a new Gorka? Have they done a new Gorka since like Trump won? I feel like we're due for a Gorka cold open on Chapo. Are we not?
And telling the American people, I'm sorry, we don't have a choice. We are 15 years into what is going to be a multi-generational war because we're talking about defeating an idea. It's easy to bomb a tank, very difficult to defeat an idea, and that's exactly what we have to do.
All right, just let me make it clear on what he's saying here. He is saying 15 years into the Afghanistan war that the global war on terror, started by George W. Bush and the neocons, was multi-generational. Multi-generational. Not, it's going to take a generation, but multi-generational. And he is saying this 15 years into the war. This is a guy who is 100% on board with the global war on terror. Very, very excited for young folk to begin to hear this this term again. Reintroduced.
Davy says it. Oh no.
760. Who's this? Where you call?
I keep mentioning a lot of these communities that did actually like bleed a lot of.
Oh my God! What the fuck?
That exactly is what.
To defeat an idea, and that's exactly what we have to do.
All right, just let me make it clear on what he's saying here. He is saying 15 years into the Afghanistan war that the global war on terror, started by...
Wait, what is pronounced Dr. Gorka? Is that what you're trying to say? Gorka. It's like that. My voice doesn't go that low.
George W. Bush and the neocons.
Oh, did Michael Brooks used to do Gorka?
Was multi-generational. Multi-generational. Not, it's going to take a generation, but multi-generational. And he is saying this 15 years into the war.
That's positive thinking. Okay, let's...
100% on board with the global war on terror. Very, very excited for young folk to begin to hear this this term again. Reintroduced by the Republicans who brought it to us in the first place.
There is a man who is not a sissy.
These are Donald Trump.
There is a man who is such an alpha male that he will tell you personally. he is an alpha male, quote unquote. This is a man whose accent
Why is the music?
and goatee
arming teachers, especially if they're vets. You don't have to be, a tier 1 operator or a classified
Oh my god, I love this. You don't have to be a tier 1 operator.
marksman.
But he is.
If there's one person in the building who's simply laying down fire in the direction of the perpetrator,
I think it's a terrible idea.
It's
Laying down suppressive fire in a school shooting. That's what he's talking about.
much,
a terrible
much
idea.
You don't have to be a tier 1 operator in order to defend a school by laying down suppressive fire against the shooter.
to kill people.
Gorka comes in with like basically the teacher in the middle of an active shooting situation should basically just like step up and lay down fire
In the direction
in
of
the
the perpetrator.
direction of the perpetrator. And then Gorka's just like, he was lied to, he was promised smears, and ended up talking about pathetic Russian babies. He was misled, if anything.
This guy's level of pomp
Yeah,
is
it's incredible.
It's out of a fucking James Bond movie.
I know.
It's
He's a James Bond villain, yeah.
But not like first, like he's like the assistant who gets thrown into the Shark Tank after displeasing
He's
the
the
main
lowest
guy.
paid-
I was the junior associate at Spectre.
Wait, and he-
until I was killed at an annual meeting in Vienna. Huh?
and he goes, Obama had like one quarter of the leaks. I'm
The
like,
seventh or something. yeah.
like,
or
dude,
7 times less.
That's technology for you.
right.
or like he's running a tighter ship. Like,
Right.
what are you
Well, like,
talking
the
about?
thing-
The idea that there is no such thing as a lone actor as long as they share an ideology is absurd.
We are alone together, sharing a transient experience, each in our own self-contained shells, but always connected through the bonds of shared biological community and experience. Jew.
Are you familiar?
No.
with transcendental meditation.
Are you familiar with the
There's
tenets of
no-
existentialism?
We're all part of one large organism. We were, at least until Obama tried to separate us
Until
into black and
Obama
white.
destroyed our connection with Mother Gaia, which was always his plan as part of a larger ISIS conspiracy, which is why he said lone wolves when we only exist in a state of interdependence.
Do you
What
realize
a cuck.
when someone picks a dandelion in China, I feel a sharp pain in my ankle?
I literally am breathing the same breath that the Buddha breathed, that Hitler and other great men. Excuse me, what did I say?
Okay, so I think that most people.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of Gorka since it's been a while.
This is a failure of
Gorka.
Democrats broadly, specifically of Biden, specifically
I hope it wasn't from Lateralis Several Wolves. I'll get in trouble if it was.
of Harris as well, of the Democratic leadership, of our media. Donald Trump is unique in a couple of ways. He's a lunatic, like a legit, I think. Also, he's sassy with his verbiage, and he will mimic giving a blowjob to a microphone in a way that a lot of politicians are afraid to do. He also is a good marketer and good at insults. And he's lied about his intentions in terms of Social Security and Medicare because he doesn't have any. He just knows what was going to sell on the campaign trail. They tried to cut it during his administration. He is a Republican. Republicans are him. This has been the case. Donald Trump did not fall out of a coconut tree.
Bonk. Do the bonk. Do the bonk.
Trump was
Yes!
born out of
The
the
bonk.
Republican Party. Again, Mitt Romney went to New York in 2012 to kiss his ring, to get his blessing, not because he was some type of sui generis, very unique type of Republican. No, because he was one of the most prominent Republicans in the country. Him,
Birther.
he started the birthing thing, or at least gave it its sort of
Donald Trump.
rocket fuel.
Most prominent, yep.
The original birthing person.
It was him. It was Rush Limbaugh. You needed their blessing to be the Republican nominee, even if you're Mitt Romney.
That's right. Trump was a Hillary donor. Speaking of neocons.
The days of saying that, you know, they're MAGA or they're this or they're that, they're Republicans.
The MAGA movement.
They're Republicans. There are no, like, you know, Dwight Eisenhower is dead.
Yeah. Mitt
He also
Romney
wasn't a typical Republican. He was a war commander that they recruited.
And Mitt Romney was vying for Secretary of State when he was kissing that ring, and
A Hillary staffer started birtherism.
Rubio now being put up for Secretary of State. Is there a better avatar for this mythical, reasonable Republican than Marco Rubio? Like, when you're doing that branding, that's the kind of Republican they could gesture towards. Yeah. And what do you know? He's about to be one of the top members of the administration. So so exceptionalizing Donald Trump in that way, and this is exactly what you've been saying for so many years. It allows people to do what they did to vote him back into office, where we're seeing reports where, like, people just went in and voted for Trump and didn't even vote down ballot in many of these swing states and in other areas of the country, because he is seen outside of the Republican establishment, which is reviled in the same way that the Democratic establishment is. And that's what this entire never Trump Republican strategy that has come out of
the Hillary campaign floated it internally, but it was never sent out.
Of these last 10 years of him dominating our politics, all it did was further exceptionalize him and put him outside of the structure of the Republican Party. And it's nonsensical.
Put up that Libertarian tweet again, because this is the funny part. And this is again, Dave Smith hearing about Marco Rubio. His reaction. I want his reaction.
It should be his latest tweet. Just click on his profile. Go back to the other. Scroll down. Yeah.
Marco Rubio is a disaster. Might as well give Liz Cheney the State Department. Awful sign. I will tell you that the only thing inhibiting Donald Trump from giving Liz Cheney the State Department is that Liz Cheney is a dime a dozen in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
She is also a Republican. You don't need to put Liz Cheney there, because far and wide, when you look in the Republican Party, that's what you'll find. Period. End of story. And the pretending that they didn't know this is a joke. This is called brand protection. That's what this is. And it's a joke. I mean, give me a break. Donald Trump is not anti-war. Donald Trump is not anti-elite. Donald Trump is not anti-establishment. I still remember the day he won in 2016. He's walking into, what was it, 21st Club or 21st Club, putting his hand on all his buddies' shoulders and saying, I'm going to cut all your taxes. And I got news for you. He wasn't putting the hands on the wait staff's shoulders.
No.
They were all the people eating the escargot or whatever it is that they ate in the 21st Club or whatever that is.
Anti-elite. You know, for some reason gets buried, but he was hobnobbing with Jeffrey Epstein. There are now recordings of Jeffrey Epstein saying he was a close friend of Donald Trump's.
From Michael Wolff, yeah.
So, like, for all of these right-wingers who talk about the elites and how they're all pedophiles and a part of this cabal or whatever, maybe take a look at your own dude. It's just incredible how he exists outside of the very structures that he's intimately involved in terms of, like, the way people perceive him.
Here is, let's play this too. Okay, this is really disturbing. Hey, folks.
Oh my God, we don't even get to see what's disturbing. Yeah, I mean, the Sam Cedar jump scare, that's kind of disturbing. Anyway, we're going to pivot now to talk about somebody else in the Trump administration, the chairman of the DOGE, the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, Mr. Elon Musk, much like Gorka with his own iconic accent.
All right, y'all, this story's fun. I think you're all going to like this. So apparently Elon Musk is already annoying the shit out of the Trump team. This is literally the first week since he won the election, and he's already stepping on people's toes and annoying people. So let me walk you through this. This is in the Daily Beast. Musk turning himself into the guest who wouldn't leave at Mar-a-Lago. The Tesla CEO is not expected to have an official position in Trump's incoming administration, but he's apparently weighing in on staffing decisions already being made in Florida. All right, so let me pause here just to point out. Trump announced just yesterday that he's appointing Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to the head of the new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. And if you read what Trump released, he goes on to explain this is a non-governmental position, and it's an advisory council where they would recommend structural reform to the office of...
It's basically a mouthpiece for the elite, a mouthpiece for the super wealthy to communicate with the White House to suggest regulations that are annoying them, that are getting in the way of them making as much money as possible to eliminate. That's what the DOGE is.
Management and budget. So I need everybody to understand what Trump did here was the functional equivalent of telling Vivek and Elon Musk to fuck off. That's what this is. It's not a real agency. He's not even trying to make it a real agency. It's basically like, yeah, whatever, write a report and give me some advice, and then I'll throw it in the fucking garbage.
I don't know.
The best thing Trump
I don't know.
has ever done. Unironically.
I mean, considering that Elon represents people that put money in his pocket, not just money into his campaign, which they did that as well, but you know, he sold a number of things, including very expensive watches during this last election. So he was basically open to be bribed. And so, you know, those people definitely want a place to be able to make requests, file a ticket.
Basically, these guys like were ride or die for him, and he's just like, yeah.
I'm not sure that it's going in the garbage can like Kyle is.
Yeah, whatever.
I think the Doge might be a real thing.
Little play thing for you. Go in the corner. You see all those tweets now. You know that picture of like you got the two older kids playing video games, and then you have the one next to it who's younger, and they gave him a controller, but it's not plugged in to the console. Like that's Vivek and that's Elon Musk. So anyway, all right, let's keep going here. After all that election night excitement, it seems Elon Musk just doesn't want to go home. Multiple sources have told CNN that amid the post-victory buzz around Mar-a-Lago, the Tesla CEO has been at Donald Trump's Florida resort almost every single day over the past week, with Instagram posts under the location tag showing him dining with the president-elect and his wife on Sunday, as well as spending time on the grounds with his son over the weekend. Dining with him on the patio at times, today they were seen on the golf course together. Network anchor Caitlin Collins said in a broadcast on Sunday, Musk has been in the room when world leaders have called, and tonight we have learned he's also weighing in on staffing decisions, making his clear preference for certain roles. Let me just pause here to point out, you guys know I am no fan of Donald Trump. In fact, I hate Donald Trump. But having said that, he's gonna fucking hate this. He's gonna fucking hate this. He doesn't want anything or anybody getting in the way of him being the big boss man. And if you cross a line and you speak out of turn or you give some bad advice.
I mean, yeah, the one thing that would really put Elon on the outside of the administration is if somehow Elon started to, you know, take attention away from Trump. That's the one thing that he doesn't like.
You talk when he doesn't want you talking. He's going to start feeling like, get this fucking guy away from me. All right, more. While Musk himself is still not expected to take any kind of formal position inside Trump's administration, given how complicated it would be with his companies, what's become clear tonight is that he doesn't really need to. One source told me Elon Musk is having just as much influence from the outside. Other commentators have noted that Musk's persistent presence at the resort over the past few days appears to be unnerving some members of Trump's transition team, who have reportedly already come to view the tech tycoon as something of the guest who wouldn't leave. After
I mean, he does strike me as an annoying guy.
Party. Let me translate that for you. Susie Wiles, the who ran Trump's campaign is now going to be Trump's chief of staff. She's a corporate lobbyist, by the way. She's the one who's, in theory, supposed to like corral the clown show and make them more reasonable. And I have no doubt that that's one of the people they're referring to here. That Wiles is like, this guy's a fucking problem. Because she's the most adultish of the people in the room. All right, quote, he definitely inserts himself all the time. That's his style, tech journalist Kara Swisher told CNN on Monday morning. I've heard from Trump people calling me saying, oh, wow, this is odd. And it is. Swisher goes further to speculate that Trump and Musk's bromance likely won't survive the pressure of two planetary-sized egos vying for space in the halls of power. Bro, Elon, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, I need you guys to stop and think about this. Imagine Joe Biden in 2020 wins, but he was on the campaign trail with George Soros, and then George Soros, basically handcuffs himself to Biden and eats dinner with him every night and hangs out with him at the resort and gives his input on who he thinks should be in his cabinet. At some point, Biden's going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're a billionaire. You're a fucking oligarch. And you're supposed to like burrow yourself up my ass and try to help me make my decision. Are you out of your mind?
Oh no, Shorts chat. Evil Irene is a Trump supporter?
This is insane. And yeah, their egos are gonna clash. They're both narcissists. And there can be only one.
I say that because my name is Irene too.
Narcissist as the head of the country. And that's Donald Trump, Swisher said. Trump goes through people like tissues, essentially. And even if it's Musk, they're going to clash at some point. Yeah, you bet your ass. So he's already pissing the team off. I can't wait until the big guy himself turns on Elon. Because it's coming. You know, it's happened with everybody.
Gone faster than Laura Loomer, yeah.
It's happening. And I think it'll probably be sooner rather than later, is my guess. Because it looks like Elon sort of thinks he's the co-president.
I mean, that was the feeling Trump was giving.
It's like, in his mind, it's like, yeah, thank you for your money, right? Thank you for giving me millions of dollars for the campaign. I'll give you your tax cuts. I'll give you your subsidies. I'll give you your government contracts. But, like, we're done here. We're done here. Just wait for it, man. The falling out is going to be beautiful, and I can't wait to see the little Elon sycophants and Trump sycophants, like, fighting. Oh, it's going to be glorious. All right, guys, that's the show. Love y'all very much. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please click like, click subscribe, all that fun stuff. You can support the show on Patreon, or you can tip with that thanks button on YouTube. Definitely check out Crystal Kyle and Friends this week. We are going to talk to an expert who's going to tell you how AMLO, Mexico's Bernie Sanders, who became president, right? How he was able to not get kicked out of power, and his party did not get kicked out of power even after COVID. Because literally every other party in the world, in any country, no matter if they were
I mean, that's an interesting
wing, left wing, whatever, the bums were kicked out after COVID because people were struggling. AMLO was able to keep his party in power. Why is that? We'll talk about that. It'll be a really interesting conversation. You can sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends.
Anyway, so we got a little bit more about this Elon and Trump thing.
The magic number of 218 today to win control of the House of Representatives, and then immediately, and perhaps temporarily, lost control of the House when a Republican House member suddenly resigned.
What?
Bringing the number of Republican seats.
You are shitting me. You are shitting me. Is that true? Is this real? I mean, I don't trust anything I hear from MSNBC. Their business model is essentially to tell you, like, if you've ever watched Rachel Maddow, you get the feeling that, like, watch this space because there's a prosecutor named Robert Mueller and he's going after Donald Trump. And this time tomorrow, we might see Donald Trump unceremoniously frog marched out of the White House in an orange jumper to be thrown into jail, and the rightful president Hillary Clinton being returned to her. You know what I mean? You get the feeling that if you just like watch Rachel Maddow for long enough, everything's gonna flip. All the bad people are gonna get their comeuppance. Everything will be right. You can go back to brunch. You can go back to brunch and drink a mimosa right after Rachel Maddow. And I mean, this is kind of what MSNBC does. It's copium for the libbed up.
In the House down to 217. with 9 more House elections yet to be decided. Resignations from the House of Representatives are rare. Even
Oh, Matt Gaetz. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. So he's pulling a lot of people from the House. Why? Why would he do that?
more rare are resignations when a House member is under investigation by the House
True.
Ethics Committee.
But he's failing up. Matt Gaetz is failing up, right? He's going to become the Attorney General now.
The resignation stops the investigation.
Rachel Maddow does take forever to get to a point.
That is what Congressman Matt Gaetz
She edges you for a very long time, much like myself.
to achieve by his sudden resignation today while under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for possible involvement in sexual misconduct and drug use. Most members of Congress who resign while under investigation are never heard from again in government, except possibly at their criminal trials. Donald Trump promised we.
Does Matt Gaetz being appointed as Attorney General, does that get him out of any sort of legal repercussions?
We will be hearing
I
from
don't think that works that way. For president, yes, but
Matt Gaetz again by announcing him as the choice for the next Trump Attorney General. Matt Gaetz is the single most inappropriate selection for Attorney General in the history of that office at the time of his selection. Republican President Richard Nixon's first Attorney General, John Mitchell, was, of course, the worst Attorney General in history since he was convicted of crimes committed while serving.
Oh, God. Yeah. No, I saw that. I forgot about that, George Jackson. I actually commented on that post. I told Kyle he was a clown for that post. Yeah, George Jackson says this guy agreed on Twitter that it's okay to misgender Caitlyn Jenner because she voted for Trump. Yeah. I just posted no, and I put a picture of Ronald McDonald to let Kyle know what I thought of his take.
As Attorney General. But at the time of his selection, John Mitchell appeared to be just another Republican establishment lawyer going into a Republican administration. Unlike Matt Gaetz, John Mitchell.
But I feel like Lawrence has also taken his time to get to his point. Get to your point, MSNBC. You're wasting our time.
Was not under an ethics investigation when he was selected to
You need to Mr. Beastify your content.
Attorney General. John Mitchell had never been the subject of a federal criminal investigation of sex trafficking as Matt Gaetz was. John Mitchell had never been arrested for drunk driving as Matt Gaetz was. As shocked as Washington was yesterday with the Trump choice of a Fox weekend host for Secretary of Defense, the shock was even greater today, including among Republicans. There is no Republican member of the House of Representatives who is hated, and I mean hated, by more Republican members than Matt Gaetz. Here's the reaction of Republican.
He's an easy guy to hate.
Congressman Matt.
His face punchability ratio is very high.
But now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
I just think it's silly. I believe that the president is probably rewarding him for being such a loyal soldier.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's what Trump does. That's all he cares about, loyalty
To the president.
Yes.
But the president is smart enough and his team is smart enough to know that Mr. Gaetz will never get confirmed by the Senate.
Oh, is that true? I mean, it would be a Republican Senate by the time the confirmation goes through, right?
Gaetz breaks things, and then once he breaks it even more. And that is somebody who should not be the Attorney General of the United States.
Huh. Okay, so maybe he won't be.
McCarthy, who was driven out of the speakership by Matt Gaetz, said this.
I'll give you the truth why I'm not speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics
Let's get that tea
complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old.
The Democrats in the Senate will no doubt want to hear from Kevin McCarthy as a witness at Matt Gaetz' Senate confirmation hearing. The Senate confirmation hearing for Attorney General will be run by the 91-year-old new chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, who has become a rubber stamp for all things Trump in the Senate. But Matt Gaetz is already in trouble trying to get a majority vote in the Senate, with Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski telling NBC News today it will be a significant challenge for Gaetz to win enough votes to be confirmed. I don't think it's a serious nomination for the Attorney General. That's Lisa Murkowski's view, Murkowski said. He's got his work cut out for him, added Senator Joni Ernst, Republican of Iowa. Senator John Cornyn said the Senate will have to consider any nominee by the president seriously, but we also have a constitutional responsibility. Senator Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, sounded a note of skepticism. Obviously, the president has the right to nominate whomever he wishes, but I'm certain that there will be a lot of questions, she said. Collins said the ethics probe will be one of the issues that's going to be raised because, as I understand it, there's an active investigation by the House Ethics Committee. Well, there was an active investigation when the senator was saying that, but hours later, that investigation was ended by Matt Gaetz' resignation. A year ago, Matt Gaetz said the world is not ready for an attorney general, Matt Gaetz.
You never know, David. It may be an Attorney General Matt Gaetz down the road or someone of my liking who will be there to actually enforce the law and provide the accountability, not just the vision, but the actual accountability. The people that are sending you those messages deserve that in a free and just and constitutional republic.
He looks like if Gavin Newsom was crossed with Butthead from Beavis and Butthead, that's what you'd get.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. And I like that. I like that. Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Are you kidding me? Man.
The world is not ready. Probably. Certainly Senate confirmation wouldn't be.
Punchbowl News is reporting tonight that the House Ethics Committee was going to vote on Friday, just 2 days from now, on releasing a report of its investigation of Matt Gaetz. That vote might never take place, and that report might never be seen. But between now and Matt Gaetz' Senate confirmation, every reporter in Washington will be trying to get a leaked copy of that report. To protect Matt Gaetz, every Republican member of the House will have to defend suppressing that Ethics Committee report. Every Republican senator who wants to vote for Matt Gaetz' confirmation will have to defend suppressing that ethics report about Matt Gaetz. Every Republican senator will have to insist that they want less information about Donald Trump's nominee for Attorney General than is available. The Trump team has said that they want to abolish background checks for jobs in the Trump administration. Now we know why. In a normal investigation of a nominee for Attorney General, the background check is done by the FBI. That's the FBI doing a background check of their future boss. The FBI already knows a lot about Matt Gaetz from its criminal investigation of a friend of Matt Gaetz who is now serving time for sex trafficking. That information should be included in the FBI's background report that is normally provided to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now we know why Donald Trump.
Okay, so we're still waiting on Elon Musk.
Said the other day.
How are we going to shoehorn the Elon Musk story into this? Like, there's been, 6 minutes so far just on Matt Gaetz.
Wants to bypass the confirmation process for his nominees. Donald Trump wants possibly unconfirmable nominees like Matt Gaetz to take their positions in the administration through recess appointments. A recess appointment is possible only when the Senate is in recess for at least 10 days. Then, in the event of what's supposed to be an emergency vacancy that has to be filled, the president can appoint someone without Senate confirmation. That appointment is only good for approximately 18 months to a maximum of 2 years until the next Congress is sworn in. Matt Gaetz was promised a recess appointment before he was publicly chosen by Senator Rick Scott of Florida, who was one of the candidates for Republican Majority Leader of the Senate. Rick Scott was the only one of the three candidates who immediately said, quote, 100% agree. 100% agree to Donald Trump's demand for recess appointments. Rick Scott came in last today in the closed-door secret election for Senate Majority Leader in which only Republican senators voted. John Thune, the heir apparent of Mitch McConnell from South Dakota, was elected Majority Leader by Republicans in sharp and full defiance of Elon Musk. 3 days ago, Elon Musk, who has never expressed a view on Senate leadership elections before, said, "Rick Scott for Majority Leader, exclamation point." He also said then, "Senator Thune is the top choice for Democrats." He was right about Senator Thune. Most Democratic senators would prefer John Thune as the Republican leader. Here's Democratic Senator Mark Warner today.
I've worked with John Thune on a lot of things, even like the...
Wait, how did they do the vote already? Don't they have to wait until the new Senate is seated? Like, at present, the Senate is Democratic. It's 51-49. I don't understand how they're having this vote already.
Our first TikTok bill together. Again, I don't agree with John Thune on everything, and he's going to have to work. He's got a challenge to work with the president-elect and his caucus. But the thing about John Thune is, he's partisan, but he's always a decent guy. And that, I think, kind of, basic decency is something that I imagine will be tested, but I'm looking forward to working with him.
So Elon Musk, the Senate lobbyist, lost big time today. Elon Musk lobbied Republicans in the Senate on majority leader, and Elon Musk lost. His candidate came in last out of the three candidates. And Matt Gaetz' chance of getting a recess appointment to Attorney General just dropped from 100% with Rick Scott to no better than 50% with John Thune as Senate Majority Leader. John Thune might turn out to be as weak as Rick Scott and bend to every Trump demand. But as of tonight, we know two things about the incoming Senate Majority Leader. John Thune, like most Republicans, doesn't want Matt Gaetz to get a recess appointment. And he doesn't want Matt Gaetz to become Attorney General. He's not going to say those things out loud, but that is obvious about a senator like John Thune. That doesn't mean John Thune won't end up voting for Matt Gaetz' confirmation in the end. But John Thune might, just might, try to work the secret magic that a majority leader can use to slow down a nomination or kill a nomination without his fingerprints being at the scene of the crime.
Okay, this sounds like more Mueller cope, right? Mueller he technically does not have any power. If the Republican Senate does not vote to like impeach Donald Trump, then he won't be impeached. But somehow Mueller might work some magic, and I don't know, something's gonna happen, and Trump won't be president. It's just fucking cope.
Majority leaders have
Republicans are gonna Republican. If he got elected, it's a good sign that he's going to do whatever Trump wants.
Many ways of doing that invisibly. At the end of Donald Trump's second impeachment trial, Senator Thune said, "My vote to acquit should not be viewed as exoneration for his conduct on January 6, 2021, or in the days and weeks leading up to it. What former President Trump did to undermine faith in our election system and disrupt the peaceful transfer of power is inexcusable. But he is no longer president. The Constitution is clear that the primary purpose of impeachment is removal from office, and that's what I believe the founders intended." Reports are now emerging from Trump world about the predictable tensions with Elon Musk. NBC News reports Musk has been so...
Finally. All right, here we go. Sorry I made you wait for that, but here we go. This is the Elon Musk.
...aggressive in pushing his views about Trump's second term, that he's stepping on the toes of Trump's transition team and maybe overstaying his welcome at Mar-a-Lago, according to two people familiar with the transition. He's behaving as if he's a co-president and making sure everyone knows it, one of the people said of Musk. Politico reports he's become almost a comical distraction.
Do you think he brought a sink into the White House? Do you think he brought a sink? Or like into the Trump meetings, like he's like, "Oh, hey everyone, I brought my sink so you could let it sink in that I'm going to be the head of the Department of..." Wait, what is it again? Government efficiency? Yeah, Department of Government efficiency.
Hanging around Mar-a-Lago, sidling into high-level transition meetings and giving unsolicited feedback on Trump's personnel decisions. Elon is getting a little big for his britches, one insider tells Playbook.
I thought it was Trump who was too big for his britches because he wears a diaper.
Trump, for his
Elon? Does Elon have a...
part, doesn't seem to mind.
Is Elon diped up too?
Relishing the attention.
You're shouting at MSNBC. Oh, I figured.
He's getting from the richest man in the world. There was even talk of trying to have Elon Musk join the meeting that Donald Trump had today with President Biden, in which current White House Chief of Staff Jeff
He would definitely bring the sink to that.
Science and incoming White House.
They're like, hello, President Biden. I'm going to put in a sink for you.
Chief of Staff Susie Wiles also joined the discussion after that one-on-one in the Oval Office. Musk did not make it into that meeting, but that's the only meeting Elon Musk seems to have been barred from so far. Donald Trump lets Elon Musk follow him around the way President Franklin Delano Roosevelt let his little dog follow him around. All
JJG says, as a German, it's so confusing to me. Like, I know our system has got its problems, yeah, but just having two major parties sounds like a hard choice. It's usually a bad choice. It's usually like a choice of really bad and even worse. That's like
over the world, including on voyages across oceans. Donald and Elon's excellent adventure makes perfect sense for Donald, who always needs money. With the richest person in the world beside him, Donald Trump need never talk to another banker in his life. All of Donald's debt issues can be solved by Elon at any moment. And for Donald, there is the pleasure of putting on public display the richest person in the world's utter subservience to Donald Trump. In public,
I mean, that is true. Trump will never be the richest man in the world.
Up here, but now there are freaking communists invading.
The fact that he has got the richest man in the world at his beck and call is about the biggest flex he could manage. Yeah.
Trump is Elon's daddy, and Elon is demoted.
Daddy? Did you say daddy? Are we back in the daddy discourse? When was that? That was like 2020.
The status of Trump's son, a status that allows him to stand in front of Eric in the family photograph. Because
oh my God, nobody cares about Eric.
Understands nothing about government. He might not.
Whoa, hi there. What was that button that wasn't supposed to get pressed?
Well, the Republicans.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that.
Sidling into high-level transition meetings and giving unsolicited feedback on Trump, which current White House Chief.
Sorry about that, chat.
President Franklin Delano Roosevelt let his little dog follow him around.
Oh no, Elon's the dog.
Needs money. With the richest person in the world beside him, Donald Trump need never talk to another banker in his life. All of Donald's debt issues can be solved by Elon at any moment. And for Donald, there is the pleasure. In public, Donald Trump is Elon's daddy, and Elon is demoted to the status of Trump's son, a status that allows him to stand in front of Eric in the family photograph. Because Elon Musk understands nothing about government, he might not understand how fake the fake job is that Donald Trump gave him yesterday when he told Elon Musk he would be in charge.
See, I'm not convinced.
Of finding and getting rid.
I really hope that Elon Musk doesn't have a real position in the government, but I'm not convinced.
Of government waste. Donald Trump gave Elon Musk the power to do absolutely nothing. Donald Trump simply made Elon Musk another lobbyist with Congress. If Elon Musk finds something that he thinks is waste in government, he can recommend to the House and Senate committees of jurisdiction that they vote to cut that spending. But if they don't vote to cut that spending will continue forever. And Elon Musk better not recommend cutting any wasteful government spending in Texas, say, or in Florida, or in any Republican state. Elon Musk has no power in the government at all. Elon Musk has no power over spending and has no power over cutting spending. Only Congress does. And so Elon Musk's fake job on the Trump team is to be a spending lobbyist with Congress. And Elon Musk will have to convince both the House and Senate to agree to vote on spending cuts that he, Elon Musk, proposes. And we saw Elon Musk's power today as a lobbyist in the United States Senate. He lost, and he lost very, very badly. In the very first vote by Republican senators, they said, we don't want what Elon Musk is selling. We don't want Rick Scott, the Republican senator who said he wanted to cut.
Wait, you're telling me that this is all just a meme? There's nothing real about this?
Social Security and Medicare. When Elon Musk recommends cutting Social Security and Medicare to the Senate Finance Committee won't even have a hearing on it, never mind a vote on it. Elon Musk was humiliated today in his first big power play in the United States.
Show me. I want to believe you, but I don't.
Elon Musk was crushed and humiliated.
Show me.
And he was humiliated today by
because he didn't get Rick Scott. They got John Thune.
Donald Trump, who must at some point humiliate everyone around him to demonstrate his dominance over them. It is very likely that Donald Trump is the one sucking up to Elon Musk in private because Donald Trump knows that he needs Elon Musk's money and he needs Elon Musk's social media influence. But for Donald Trump, the only thing that matters is what happens in public. The only thing that matters to Donald Trump is how he is seen in public. And so today, with Elon Musk tagging along at Donald Trump's meeting with House Republicans, Donald Trump trotted Elon Musk into that room to show House Republicans two things. One, the richest person in the world is on my side. The richest person in the world can help you or hurt you depending on how helpful you are to me. But here's the other thing. The richest person in the world is not the most powerful person in the world. That was Donald Trump's message to the House of Representatives today, spoken and unspoken. And what he said out loud about Elon Musk, just to demonstrate his power over Elon Musk publicly, just to humiliate Elon Musk, as Donald Trump must do, as Donald Trump's twisted psyche demands that he do. Donald Trump told all Republican House members, quote, Elon won't go home. I can't get rid of him. And
see, now, does that mean, like,
everyone laughed at that. They laughed that uncomfortable laugh. But they laugh when Donald Trump makes a joke about someone on his team, a joke that everyone knows is true, a joke that paints that person as pathetic, as Donald Trump's personal sense of superiority demands that he do. Donald Trump's jealousy of Elon Musk's wealth must eat away at him every second he has to look at the richest person in the world. But in public, at least, Donald Trump gets to do what he likes to do best. Insult and humiliate. Insult and humiliate, in this case, Elon Musk.
Okay, remind me never to watch.
Quote, Elon won't go home.
This guy is so boring. This guy, I hate the way that he does his, you know.
I can't get rid of him.
Like, I don't want to listen to this man say anything else unless his head is coming out of a skibbity toilet.
I had never heard of Texas Republican Congressman Troy Nehls, who just got reelected to his third term, before today. Today, Congressman Troy Nehls,
he's managing to be more annoying than Rachel Maddow, and that's a lot.
Entered the House record books for saying the stupidest thing a member of Congress could ever say about a president. Troy Nehls had no idea, obviously, that he was contradicting the very design of the relationship between the House of Representatives and the president that the founders wrote into the Constitution. And in the process, Troy Nehls erased the line between church and state because he, in effect...
Lawrence is the GOAT? Are you saying that he's the GOAT because you believe that 100%, like, Trump is sick of Elon, Elon's getting played, Elon is going to have no effect. I would love it if that were the case. Like, you know, it's bad enough that the richest people in the country are able to, through money and politics, buy influence with people like Donald Trump, with the you know, Republican Congress, etc. But it's like having the richest man in the world overseeing some kind of powerful government office is even worse. So I mean, I hope Lawrence knows what he's talking about. But it reminds me of so much other bullshit that I've seen. I don't know.
Said Donald Trump is God.
Pixel Paleon says, I don't think it's about interpersonal drama happening in Congress. I think it's about the Secret Service building their case against Gaetz.
When he said,
I mean, we could follow this Gaetz rabbit hole a little bit further. What do you say, chat?
Donald Trump is never wrong.
If Donald Trump says jump 3 feet high and scratch your head, we all jump 3 feet high and scratch our heads. That's it. He's got a 10-pound...
What if he says blow this mic? Fillet this microphone.
Brain. Elon's got a 10-pound brain, and we need to take advantage of that. If Donald Trump says terrorists...
I feel like you need to wash it down the sink.
Terrorists work. Period. Because Donald Trump is really never wrong. Think about it. He's...
Oh my God! This man lives up his colon, apparently. Anyway, let's try to follow this Gaetz rabbit hole a little bit further.
We've got some major breaking news here.
Speaking of lived up, we got Brian Tyler Cohen here.
But first, just to set the stage, earlier today, Donald Trump nominated Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General, which led to this announcement from Mike Johnson.
Matt and I were classmates. We came to Congress at the same time in the 115th Congress in January 2017. And alphabetically, we're seated right next to one another in Judiciary Committee. We served there together for 7 years. Some of y'all who cover Judiciary know those are long meetings. So I got to know Matt very well. Look, I'll say this. Everyone who served with him will tell you he's one of the most intelligent members of Congress. He's an accomplished attorney. He's very concerned about the lawfare that has been occurring in the Department of Justice under the Biden administration.
Yeah, in other words, he's got a lot of cases chasing him, just like Donald Trump does. And he wants to beat the charges, even though he's most likely guilty. So he's got every you know, incentive to try to destroy any inkling of the justice system being able to hold powerful people accountable.
And the fact that the American people have lost their faith in our institutions of justice because of everything that they've seen. He's a reformer in his mind and heart, and I think that he'll bring a lot to the table on that. I think out of deference to us, he issued his resignation letter effective immediately of Congress. That caught us by surprise a little bit, but I asked him...
Chris Church, be quiet. You're scaring the garden tools, my friend. You're scaring the garden tools.
What the reasoning was, and he said, well, you can't have too many absences. So under Florida state law, there's about an 8-week period to select and fill a vacant seat. And so by doing so today, that allows me, I've already placed a call to Governor DeSantis in Florida and said, let's start the clock. He's in Italy at the moment, and so we're going to talk first thing in the morning about this. And if we start the clock now, if you do the math, we may be able to fill that seat as early as January 3rd when we take the...
by super chatted $10. Mike Johnson married his minor daughter ceremonially on camera.
What?
That's all.
Oh no. Oh no, is that true? What? Wait, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
But now there are freaking communists.
When you say married his minor daughter, are you talking about like a daddy-daughter, like that daddy-daughter weird thing where they pretend to go on a date? Like, Vamp says it's really easy to lose faith in justice when you allow someone like Trump to lead your country. True. True. Wait, is this real though? Narwhal by nature? Wow. Is this real? Yeah, Trump is never wrong. You can't stump the Trump.
New oath of office for the new Congress. So Matt would have done us a great service by making that decision as he did on the fly. And so we're grateful for that. So we move forward. Look, I'll say this about, people have asked me all day long, President Trump is poaching all of your talent. Yes, but we have an embarrassment of riches here. The Republican conference is full of talented people who are extraordinary leaders and have great expertise, and everyone in this Congress, in this conference, could serve in a leadership position.
That Gaetz had already resigned from Congress, which obviously led to a lot of speculation. Was he just that bullish on the prospects of confirmation? Because let's face it, he's not the most popular guy in the Senate. Already a number of Republican senators expressed, let's say, chilliness to the prospect.
What is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to get? Do you think she's going to get anything, or do you think she's frozen out of the Trump orbit? Right, there's some kind of a fight between Laura Loomer and Marjorie Taylor Greene, but Laura Loomer kind of got frozen out too, right? So is it possible? Like, I don't even know how the Trump administration feels towards her. Maybe they think she's a bad look.
Of him becoming the next attorney general. But then it became clear.
Mike Johnson and his son also track each other's porn usage. Yeah, that weird app.
Exactly why he resigned. And it wasn't because he was just that certain that he would get confirmed by the Senate. This was reported by Punchbowl News. Quote, Representative Matt Gaetz' resignation from Congress came 2 days before the House Ethics Committee was set to vote on releasing a highly damaging report outlining its investigation into the Republican, according to multiple sources familiar with the probe. The committee planned to vote Friday on releasing the report. Ethics loses its jurisdiction over Gaetz when he leaves Congress. The secretive panel has been investigating Gaetz on and off since 2021. President-elect Donald Trump announced that he would nominate Gaetz to be Attorney General Wednesday. In other words, Gaetz knew that he was about to be...
They want to keep MTG in the House. Well, you know, that's true, but that goes for Gaetz as well, right? In fact, there's been a few people. Was Marco Rubio in the House? No, he was senator. He was senator. But it feels like there's been a few people like pulled out of the House.
Skewered by
like Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is a great example, right? They talked about the possibility of the Republican majority going down by one.
A devastating report by the House Ethics Committee, a committee that was, by the way, controlled by Republicans, his own party. And so in order to get out ahead of that, he used the pretense of an AG nomination to resign so that he wouldn't face the humiliation.
Oh, so is BTC telling us here that this is just his parachute? So in other words, he knows he's not going to get confirmed by the Senate. Maybe he won't even appear before the Senate. He's not really going to be AG, but he doesn't want that report coming out, right? Is that the whole purpose?
Report. And what's worse, Trump was in on it, clearly. Let's not pretend that Trump didn't know this. I don't believe for a single second that they didn't have a heads up here, meaning Trump used the Attorney General of the United States of America spot as a vehicle to get Matt Gaetz out of legal trouble. Like, I just need to reiterate that for a second. Gaetz is about to be the subject of a damning expose that was regarding his illegal behavior, and in order to distract from that and give him an out, Trump offered him the role of the top law enforcement official in the United States of America? I'm sorry, but what in the actual fuck? Like, can we take a step back for a second? Even Republicans out there have to recognize that maybe putting someone who is currently contending with allegations of sex trafficking and other crimes for which there was apparently...
I mean, it's the new normal. Like, how many crimes is Donald Trump accused of? How many crimes has Donald Trump been convicted of? How many crimes are how... You know, we've got the finding in court, in civil court, that Trump lied about not having sexually assaulted somebody.
Enough evidence that even a Republican-led committee felt the need to continue investigating in charge of the Justice Department may not be a great idea. Perhaps there's some bar, some threshold where putting people who are so aggressively and overtly hostile to the mission of the agency that they're leading shouldn't be crossed. Perhaps with the agency tasked with holding criminals to account, one might think that the Law and Order Party, even with a convicted felon at the helm might care at least a little about actual law and order. Now, for those who aren't aware of the Ethics Committee investigation, a witness had told investigators for the committee that Gaetz had paid her via Venmo for sex. According to ABC News, investigators have interviewed at least half a dozen women who allegedly attended parties where the Florida congressman was also present and who were paid by Joel Greenberg, Gaetz' one-time close friend. Greenberg was sentenced in 2022 to 11 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to multiple charges, including sex trafficking a minor and introducing the minor to other adult men. Also in the article, in the interviews, which have previously not been reported, some witnesses have shown Venmo payments they allegedly received from Gaetz and asked if those payments were for sexual activities, sources said. Some of the witnesses have been subpoenaed by the committee, while others have agreed to cooperate according to the sources. And of course, with characteristic defiance, Gaetz had responded to this news by posting, "The House Ethics Committee had closed 4 probes into me, which emerged from lies intended solely to smear me. Instead of working with me to ban congressional stock trading, the Ethics Committee is now opening new frivolous investigations. They are doing this to avoid the obvious fact that every investigation into me ends the same way, my exoneration. This is Soviet. Kevin McCarthy showed them the man, and they are now trying to find the crime. I work for Northwest Floridians who won't be swayed by this nonsense, and McCarthy and his goons know it." And of course, the jab at McCarthy should come as no surprise, given McCarthy's public comments about Matt Gaetz regarding this very topic.
But you want Gaetz to lose, clearly.
Yeah. How much of Matt Gaetz going after Kevin McCarthy, how much of that has to do with, like, Gaetz's guilt?
Supporting his primary opponent. Why do you want him out? Just because, is it simply because he led the charge to push you out?
No, I just don't think Gaetz is a conservative. I mean, and if you think about it, if there's anybody who should go to trial, I mean, Gaetz is one who should be convicted in a trial.
Why? Why do you say that?
Well, we all know the challenge here. You can't sleep with underage women and think you can get away with it. I mean,
he denies that.
Well, the women don't, and so there's people in jail because of it, and I think that's a place where people should have a court. I just don't think that as an individual should be represented in Congress.
You made a lot of concessions.
Do you get what's going on here? We're setting a precedent that if people are in power, like Trump, or they're connected to power, like Gaetz, that they are above the law. This started with Donald Trump's illegitimate Supreme Court. And I say Donald Trump because 3 of those justices were put there by him. And I say illegitimate because they've taken lavish gifts that definitely constitute at least the appearance of impropriety and are supposed to be off the table for the Supreme Court. There's nothing legitimate about the judicial branch of government at this point. Let that sink in.
The negotiations.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Is that
Let's get to the bottom of that.
Right.
But yeah, through their and then they turn around and they empower Donald Trump to exist in a state above the law, where any action which can be classified as an official act as president is immune to any sort of legal scrutiny.
It's such a misnomer in life. Let me give you the truth about that now. And I'll give you the truth why I'm not Speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress...
It was all legal. All of his rape was legal. Great one. Great one. Typical conservative in my fucking chat over here.
Because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became Speaker, and that's illegal, and I'm not going to get in the middle. Did he do it or not? I don't know. But ethics is looking at it. There's other people in jail because of it. And he wanted me to influence it.
In fact, it wasn't just Kevin McCarthy. Here's another Republican calling out Gaetz publicly.
The House is a rough and rowdy place, but Mike Johnson is going to be just fine. I served 20 years in the military.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the government, and I'm seeing a bunch of fucking criminals.
Because it was so peaceful up here, but now there are freaking...
Not just Donald Trump. I'm seeing a criminal party constituting a criminal government.
It's my absolute honor to be in Congress, but I serve with some real scumbags. Look, Matt Gaetz.
It was a corrupt place even before Donald Trump got there. You've got, the influence of money in politics has never been as acute as it is right now.
paid minors to have.
You can see that by the way the financial crisis under Obama went down. I'm sorry, but I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. But it is not a government I can respect.
Sex with them at drug parties. Bob Good endorsed my opponent, a known neo-Nazi. These people used to walk around with white hoods at night. Now they're walking around with white hoods in the daytime.
And look, I will note for posterity that the Justice Department opted not to charge Matt Gaetz, which I suppose shouldn't come as much of a surprise at the hands of Merrick Garland's DOJ, whose MO is
pretty much
never offering even the optics of any politicization. But the fact that a Republican-led House committee pursued this topic anyway is perhaps a testament to how damning it is.
I mean, look, this shit has been going on since probably before Iran-Contra. Look up Iran-Contra, by the way, if you've got some time. If you'd like to read about the illegitimate actions of the Reagan administration, starting with preventing the release of American hostages from Iran because it was not politically expedient for Ronald Reagan to win the White House. Going into the support of the Contras. And literal drug dealing. This was Oliver North and Ronald Reagan going around the Congress in order to fund these fucking death squads, right? The Contras. It's just like, it's been bad. It's been bad for longer than that. Let's go back a little bit further. Richard Nixon, right? 1968, secret meetings with the Viet Cong, the enemies of the United States, to make sure that no sort of treaty was signed with the current sitting government to help Nixon be elected president.
And yet,
apparently the feds knew about this and they didn't do anything.
Maybe that's why Matt Gaetz not only wants to be Attorney General now, but has been clamoring for it publicly for over a year. Here he is in August 2023 threatening the prospect of becoming Attorney General then.
You never know, David. It may be an Attorney General Matt Gaetz down the road, or someone of my liking who will be
He looks like AI.
there to actually enforce the law and provide the accountability, not just the vision, but the actual
Bill Hartman's SNL sketch about Reagan? No, I don't think I've seen it.
accountability. The people that are sending you those messages deserve that in a free and just and constitutional republic.
Yeah.
Again, Gavin Newsom meets Butthead from Beavis and Butthead.
We absolutely do. And I like that. I like that. Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, really good question. Are you kidding me? I need to know.
The world is not ready, probably. Certainly Senate confirmation wouldn't be. But,
well, we're getting there.
The world is not ready, but you better be, because this fucking illegitimate, this most criminal of criminal governments is coming down, and you're going to have to deal with it. And that your country's never going to be the same again. The world's never going to be the same again. This is out of the frying pan, which I don't like how the government was already, and into the fire by electing a criminal in chief, a felon in chief.
Not unlike Trump, Gaetz probably recognized
Donald Trump is the fucking #1 boss swamp monster in the swamp.
Is that the easiest way to avoid being held accountable by the government?
He didn't drain the swamp, he is the swamp. He became the swamp.
Government is to run it. And it's not far-fetched to imagine why a president who is using his office right now to avoid prosecution would then nominate someone whose promotion to the head of the DOJ would also help him avoid accountability. Birds of a feather. So at this point, we now wait to see what happens with regard to the House ethics vote on releasing the Gaetz report. As Punchbowl mentioned, this basically becomes moot now that Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress, but perhaps this Republican-led committee still votes to release the findings anyway. We also wait to see what happens with regard to the Senate vote to confirm Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, especially in light of this news. Hopefully, in both of these scenarios, sanity will prevail, but we don't have much reason for optimism.
All right, anyway, that's Matt Gaetz for you. So, yeah, we're going to get to our main topic tonight, talking about what's going on Twitch. That's what the stream is actually about. This was just a little detour. If you have enjoyed the stream, watching on Shorts Chat, understand this. Shorts Chat is about to end, but the stream will continue. And if you want to continue with us, I'm going to give you a link. Oh my gosh, if I can get it to work. To reload this. I'm going to give you a link for where the stream will be continuing, not as a short stream, not as a vertical stream, but in its full glory. And that is right here. So click on this link if you want to survive. You must click on this link. I need Twitch needs to ban my cyberbullies. That sucks. Maria, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. But yeah, if you wanna come along with us, there is the link right there. It might also raid you into it, but we're gonna end the short stream. We're gonna continue on YouTube, and I will see you over there.